what we went for was sort of a thing that I would jokingly call Gothic, because it's like Gothic but tech. The rust and decay of a medieval castle, but applied to the future. This Sensei's humble abode.
Guillermo, he has so much to offer in terms of visual descriptions and just levels of detail that he gets into.
Well, we do color zones, but I'm gonna need for like everything to be practical or from above, like, as much as possible.
He has his own ideas and he stays true to those.
Let me show you, because we are very much prop-oriented. The finish is like that of a Jeep. It's very dented, oily, so they are very much mobile things.
The set is aged heavily, it is rusty. You know, it's completely different than these nice, shining control rooms that you see that are very polished in many movies.
Better get ready. And if you notice, a lot of the almost distressed or urban or Gothic look about his sets in this, again, are very much based in reality. You walk around the set and a lot of it is huge, great chunks of metal. It's not all plasterboard and, you know, artifice. It's really there.
I wanted the movie to function with a very, very drab-colored universe, lit by very bright colored lights. And what this does, if you create a world that is saturated in colors with an incredibly rich base of blacks, and you apply the same rules to the design of the CG shots, they become of a piece.
It's about unifying everything, and you unify it with color and the way it's aged. Even the interior of our con pods are distressed. They do show their battle damage and all their character.
I wanted to do rust, metals that look used, dinged, damaged, pieces of the wall are falling, the paint is peeling. Because running it looks like rust.
Yeah. Yeah.
We used to do one layer, one color, then another layer,
Okay.
another, and just where it lands, it lands.
Okay.
So it's 3 colors, I think.
Okay. All right. The whole aspect of the set is we are losing a war. They're struggling to keep everything working. And that's what we really tried to portray in the set, is that, you know, this particular space is a little more claustrophobic.
And let's put the tank there, and we move the yellow tanks where that tank was.
Okay, so come in here, I'll rearrange your stuff, and if you don't like it, we'll move it again in the morning.
You can see the decay and just the character that that all takes.
One.
Those big shatter dome doors, they look real. They look like real steel. They're fake, but the level of rust.
For floaters.
Ah, yeah. Bipedal down below.
I think we should stay in the monster.
Okay.
I made it clear to all the designers that I didn't want anyone, including myself, to purposely reference any existing kaiju movie. We never, ever wanted to make it an homage or a reference movie. I wanted the movie to be its own thing. I think eventually when we do the final model, we may want to leave this part more blank, you know, more like a dinosaur chest. When I design monsters, I constantly am trying to find a way to be able to look at a monster for 20 minutes or more and have the design constantly transforming. Make it smaller, and that could be that.
Okay, sure.
And this becomes a little bigger forearm. And I like these legs better than these legs. If you can keep constantly shifting profile on a kaiju, then the audience doesn't feel they've already seen it. But there was one kaiju that was very difficult, Otachi. You know, it's a kaiju that encompasses about 3/4 of the Hong Kong battle. And I wanted that kaiju to work in the water, in the land, and in the air. And for that kaiju to feel different every time. We have some outlandish kaiju, but I didn't want them to be so outlandish that you would not think it's a real animal. We wanted to stick to the basic groups of kaijus that would be based on life forms that exist on Earth. So we tried to echo a gorilla, we tried to echo a shark.
The fact that they seem to be based and sourced in nature, there's a reality to them. The features, there's something very natural about them.
I wanted to echo animal powers and animal defense mechanisms. For example, there's a kaiju that spits acid and has a really elaborate sac under its neck. And we came up with the idea that it needed to regurgitate. It was like acid reflux times X. We came up with the idea that some of them would have electrical charges, charging and discharging that electricity like an electric eel. All these things are weapons that you would see on a smaller scale in nature. One of the rules I gave to the kaiju designers is I wanted to think how a man in a suit would fit in there. The kaijus are trying to honor the spirit and the feeling of the classical kaiju. We are keeping them mostly two-legged, not humanoid, but sort of a silhouette that reminds you of those classical ones. Each kaiju has been evolved and tinkered with to be more and more effective at killing machine. So you see the Category 3s, the Category 4s, and the Category 5s. And each of them is not only bigger and badder, but it's also smarter and faster. We wanted to come up with an idea that would make them feel like natural disasters. Like you have the scale for tornadoes and a scale for earthquakes. A kaiju is like that. A kaiju is a force of nature. They can be destroying a city, you still love them. The basic enjoyment you get from a kaiju movie is the same that you get into a mega wrestling match. And half the fun is to see the kaiju that emits radiation from its mouth fight the kaiju that is impervious to radiation and can fly, So you see them go at each other, and in this case, kaiju versus Jaeger was the same thing.
Initiating no action! What?
One of the very original ideas that have grown from this movie is the way the two pilots and the Jaegers interact is through what we've come to call the drift.
You need two human beings to run a Jaeger by connecting neurally. It's quite advanced technology.
Okay, Gypsy, lining up nicely.
Every memory, good, bad, everything, they become one.
They're completely immersed in the heads-up display.
One of the first things I pitched to Legendary, let's make it two pilots.
That's why I was thinking you might vertically stack them.
I would never do that, because then you're gaining logic when you're losing drama. I think the fact that these guys are gonna be able to see each other, they're gonna be able to, you need that. You don't want intercom. I really, literally want the representation of they're both in the head.
Within this headspace, there are no secrets, nothing's hidden. It's an extraordinarily intimate experience.
So again, to reiterate, Ringo's coming out of the drift into the spasm into calibration.
Yes.
Okay.
Travis wanted a sort of a magical, ethereal space where the pilots would look at each other outside the compound, sort of a ghost, a place where they look at each other in spirit. But I cannot dedicate days to shoot these guys translucent and all this stuff. So I said, let them blend through memories.
Roll camera, please.
We are directed the drift to be black and white from the moment we shot it. So the actors had duplicates of their clothes in black and white, sort of a blue grays, you know, very cold. Then I came up with the idea of using lighting strikes.
Even before she unwraps it.
To bleach the skin, to make it look blue.
I did her completely in black and grayscale, so that she would almost become a background part of the memory.
What we did is shoot a camera going to the left, and then another piece of another memory would go to the left. So the memories would blend. You know, that you would see somebody running in the foreground and a room would be in the background, and we generated an enormous amount of material.
When you feel the light is out, you will feel it. You'll wake up.
Marco, don't get caught in a moment. Marco!
We need to sometimes do the simplest tricks in the book.
You can start with the lifting of the arm. Would be great.
Where instead of morphing or doing a CG moment, I do it in camera. I do it like in a theatrical way. For example, when she goes back to her flashback, I do it with sound and the voice fades out.
Marco!
And Navarro and David Lee rigged the lights in the compote to fade out. Ashes start falling. And she starts walking, and you see she's walking on the street, and it's done on camera. Or Raleigh showing up in the flashback. There were talks about making him translucent and come out of the walls. And I said, no, let's just do a great shot with him standing there. And we understand he's in the memory. These simple tricks that are very theatrical actually worked really well. It's a scene that I am really, really proud of.